GeekInsider presents Light Years Away with Alan Daniel and Matthew Harris. It's a show dedicated to the world of technology with insight into cool events and interviews with the innovators.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Light Years Away. I am Matthew Harris. Alan is out today. He'll be back next week. But with us today, we have Glen. And man, I totally meant to ask how to pronounce his last name because you all know how I am with this accent. I'm going to say it's Aspeslagh. I probably butchered it, Glen. I'm sorry, but he is with Ecamm Live, and he's going to come on and tell us about the product and why you should use it for your podcast or for your videos on YouTube and everywhere else.
Did you know with Ecamm Live, with the click of a button, you can do this. You can do this. Grab yourself a green screen. And you can do this. And even if you've got a nice set and you don't need a green screen, it's great for doing a demonstration like this. Or what about running through a web presentation in the same way that you would do a webinar? Ecamm is an incredibly powerful tool, and it's not just for doing Facebook Lives. You can stream to multiple platforms at once. You can record only, like I'm doing now. Why don't you head over to the Ecamm website and start your 14-day free trial now with the click of a button.
So, welcome to the show, Glen.
Hey, how you doing out there?
Doing great, thanks. Thanks so much for joining us, sir. Introduce everybody to you and tell us what Ecamm Live is.
As you mentioned, I'm Glen Aspeslagh. Got that pronunciation there? And I'm one of the co-founders of Ecamm Network. We have been doing Mac software, it seems now like forever, and having a lot of fun with our Ecamm Live software the past couple of years. You may also know our software company from our call recorder plugin for Skype, which has been kicking around for, I think, now about 15 years. Wow. And our phone view tool for grabbing your messages off your iPhone, also probably about 15 years and still alive and kicking. And eyeglasses plugin, one of the first virtual camera plugins that were to come along for the Mac. So we've been at this a while, but our current focus is live streaming on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and all the other lives.
And I imagine with the current state of affairs of the world that you guys have seen an increase in usage lately, have you not?
We saw a significant increase is a good way to describe it. It was, I mean, we just watched all of these industries and professions shift dramatically to online broadcasting. I mean, there are just so many of these industries that involved in-person communication that just suddenly, overnight, practically, had to figure out how they were going to continue doing what they were doing. And broadcasting on Facebook Live and YouTube Live turned out to be the perfect way for a lot of these people to continue their day-to-day. Some examples we saw at the very beginning were churches. Yes. That just found themselves broadcasting, some from their sanctuary, but some just from their living room. You know, the pastor or something just setting up a sort of a makeshift church or something in their living room or their basement, and even just either everything ranging from a simple one camera broadcast to some pretty elaborate setups with a band and multiple cameras and bringing in remote guests. We've been incredibly impressed with what some of these churches have come up with for their Sunday broadcast. Other industries are also really hopping onto this. We see so many musicians who have been, you know, their day-to-day life before the quarantine was essentially touring. Right. You know, people having a gig almost every night, where they would just travel around their town or their state or all around the country and just play. And now they're at home, so live streaming has let them. Yeah. What were you saying to say?
I was just saying, spending more time with the family than they have in the last couple of years. You know, and that you're exactly right. I've seen a lot of different entertainers and businesses have to adapt, and a lot did it really quick. You started seeing celebrities, you know, just doing a daily talk show on YouTube, and that went really popular. But you know, with everybody that was locked in, and you know, so many people that were doing it alone, these kind of platforms, we've been using them for a while, you know, for various things. You know, we kind of take it for granted that FaceTime is there or Skype is there, and we can do the one-on-one and maybe a couple of people. But when you can launch at any time and hit, you know, like you were saying, all the different live platforms, and reach not only your fans but you know a wider range, it not only helps that performer, but it's helping all of us out here that are bored
Oh
of
yeah.
everything that's on Netflix. And I just had something on my brain that I was wanting to ask, and then I this happens all the time, Glenn. I forget what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
we've seen some really creative uses of the live streaming for celebrities or stand-up comedians or actors where they have these built-in audiences of, you know, maybe they have 10 million people on their YouTube channel, where before they just kind of used it for their, you know, their publicists would
Right.
post things. Now they're saying, hey, you know, I can just do these pop-up events. We had some celebrities who just said, you know, let's just do a wine tasting, you know, shoot the shit, you know, and just be live. And they have these built-in audiences already that will tune in and engage with them. It's really is fascinating to see what they can do. Or we saw DJ sets where a bunch of DJs get together. You know, they broadcast to whatever YouTube channel
Right.
has the most followers, and it's a worldwide thing where they'll go for 12 hours and trade off over just remotely DJing, and just do a dance party kind of from everyone's just at their house. It's kind of neat.
It is neat. It is neat. And, you know, we saw you were mentioning churches earlier, and right as the country started shutting down here, we decided that we were going to do a virtual convention, because we go to the regular comic book conventions and the tech conventions, but they were being canceled. And so we decided to do one on our own. And then we didn't even realize it when we scheduled it. We scheduled it for Easter weekend. And so Easter Sunday was almost a nightmare, because you had all the churches that were doing their streaming. Then we had our thing going on. And so people from all over the country were having connectivity issues, whether they were guests on the show or just trying to even watch these things. And it was because there was such that influx that came in of, you know, so many more people streaming. And of course, Meredith just said from the back, she said, people are creatures of habit. And it seems that once they adopt an app, it's very difficult to lure them away. What makes the Ecamm unique from services like Google Hangouts, Zoom, Facebook is launching meetings, and then of course we're on StreamYard now. So what's the difference?
We like to think of Ecamm Live as just through and through an Apple app. If you're from, I'm sure we have a lot of Mac
One right
users
here.
watching, you know. So when a lot of our competitors are great web tools where everything is happening in Chrome and online, and there's a lot you can do with that, but there are a lot of limitations. And we like to think of Ecamm Live as a powerful Mac tool that will let you produce your show going out to any platform, and giving you that ease of use that you're familiar with on your Mac, to let you just jump in and get started. There are actually a lot of cool things we can do that you won't find on a web-based tool. I could dive into the details and just give you a couple examples. For example, I'm using it right now as a virtual camera. So my video feed, for those of you who can see this video, is coming through Ecamm Live and then out to Chrome. And that's actually been a really popular solution that we've seen adopted by a lot of our users. It kind of took us by surprise, this idea of a virtual camera. So say you're doing a Zoom call, you don't want to necessarily go out to Facebook or YouTube, right? You have this private audience, I guess. Maybe the people who have paid to be in some sort of a group, or maybe it's an online version of a seminar, or maybe you're a paid speaker and people have paid to see your speech. When you go out through Zoom, you don't have a lot of control over what the people are seeing. They're seeing your camera, and maybe you can share your screen. When you use Ecamm Live as a virtual camera, suddenly you have a whole production studio on your Mac.
We'll be back right after this.
Check it out. MobileEdge.com has award-winning products with innovative features and contemporary, edgy designs that empower you to look sharp and travel smart with your mobile tech. Your beloved, not to mention expensive gaming gear and mobile tech devices are an extension of you, so give them the protection and style they deserve wherever you go. Find them at MobileEdge.com and protect your tech with Mobile Edge. Bring it on. Hey Geek Insiders, Mobile Edge has a special coupon code for our dedicated listeners. Get 25% off your Mobile Edge gear using coupon code GEEK25. That's GEEK25. Geek out.
When you use Ecamm Live as a virtual camera, suddenly you have a whole production studio on your Mac, and that's getting piped out through Zoom. So I didn't really understand exactly what people were using this for until I saw it, but it's really cool. I mean, it's a Zoom call, but then meanwhile, you can do things like roll an intro video, or do a multi-camera shoot, or add titles and graphics to the screen. So you're essentially given the ability to do a professional production, but go out to any platform you want. And Zoom, we've seen, has been the most popular one for that. You also get a lot of advantage when you're on a Mac app, because we like to think we're kind of spoiled. Since we're a Mac-only product and we're running on the Mac itself, we get to take advantage of all these cool technologies from Apple that allow us to have our whole graphics pipeline happening on the graphics card instead of the CPU. So you don't get that fan spinning up issue, the performance is amazing. It's another way to put it. I don't know if you ever tune into the WWDC keynote every year, where they get up on stage and they go on about all these amazing Apple technologies and that you can do with graphics and processing. Since we're a Mac-only tool, we can actually take advantage of all those cool technologies, where a cross-platform tool or a browser-based tool is kind of left out of all the fun of being able to use things like Metal or graphics card pipelines, or Apple's amazing frameworks for audio pipelines or video pipelines, or just encoding using your Mac's encoder chip, which is a really amazing way to do a live stream, because you're not having to rely on your CPU for doing any of the encoding. You can see I'm getting instantly really geeky here for the technology, but
Well, hey, that's what we love, Glenn. That's what we love.
But I do feel like we're in this really fun situation for us, where we don't have to worry about being cross-platform, because we made the decision pretty early on that we were going to be a Mac-only tool.
Well, and I am a Mac user. As I mentioned to you when you came in, I used to work for Apple. I was a tech support supervisor for several years. And before that, I'd never touched an iPhone. I'd never touched a Mac computer. And now there's not a Windows computer in this house. There's an old busted Android phone over here, but there's nothing Windows. I love my Macs. But the one problem that I would have, I already saw that your pricing beats a lot of your competition, hands down. And a lot of your features, they are better than the competition. But, do you not feel that you're alienating a lot of potential customers out there by not having any sort of Windows option at all?
It comes up now and then, to be honest. We really know what we're good at, and that's what we want to focus on. And we've just never really had the impulse to make a Windows tool. Really, it just doesn't seem like something we would want to do. that our audience is, there are a lot of, well, although it's a small subset of computer users, we find that it's a quite a large audience.
Oh yeah.
And the Mac audience tends to be creative type people that are really interested in maximizing the usage of their tools, and are typically pretty computer savvy. Our members are amazing. We love our members. Yeah, I'm gonna say we probably will not have a Windows. I'll go on record as saying no Windows tool in the foreseeable future.
Here's how to record a 4-way Skype video call with Call Recorder in just a few easy steps. Quit all other apps to make sure nothing else is using the Mac's processor. Set Call Recorder to record in multitrack mode. Choose your desired video frame size. On an older Mac, choose a smaller frame size, such as 854 by 480. Place a Skype video call with 4 people. Click the video windows to make sure the other 3 people are up in the top area rather than down in the shelf area. Videos on the shelf, other than your own, may not be recorded. To get to Ecamm Movie Tools, click the little magnifying glass button in the control window. Choose Tiled in Ecamm Movie Tools for a 2x2 grid, or separate files to edit them separately. And then click Export. Note that while each video stream was recorded as a separate track, all remote audio is combined into one audio track. The finished video is now ready to edit or share.
Our members are amazing. We love our members. Yeah, I'm gonna say we probably will not have a Windows. I'll go on record as saying no Windows tool in the foreseeable future.
Well,
But,
and I can understand that from many aspects. Windows, back when I started in the data world, I guess you want to say, working from home, I had my own business for a long time. I was in the bubble, made a lot of money in the bubble, then lost a lot of money when it bust. But Windows used to piss me off more than anything, and I used to scream that I wanted 2 minutes alone in a room with Bill Gates, because they would push out the updates and they would be full of bugs and full of holes, and then they'd send out the patches months later, and just really trying to do anything to integrate with Windows can be a big pain in the ass. Multi-camera shoots really could be a game changer for people who want to do those professional looking shoots. Meredith wanted to know, did she hear something about a paywall, and is there an option to implement pay to watch?
it's something that's been coming up more and more. Like I said, people are kind of doing, figuring out their own ways to do it through things like Zoom, and I know Facebook is working on pay to watch videos. It's not something we have been working on actively for Ecamm Live. But I think a lot of these platforms like Facebook are looking at how people are using Zoom to do that kind of thing, and thinking, well, there's a big opportunity here. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if in the next couple of months you see Facebook really pushing hard on this idea of a live paywall-based format where you can basically sell tickets to an event and just broadcast it right through Facebook. You can already see that they're looking at doing things like they've shifted to make it so you can watch a live video without even being logged into Facebook. Maybe you don't have Facebook. They're really looking at trying to harness this great opportunity where they have this amazing live infrastructure, and they know what they're doing. And I think we're going to see a lot of cool things coming in from Facebook. YouTube, I mean, you can already broadcast an unlisted YouTube video and just embed it on your website, and boom, you've got yourself a private video. But people could, it's not quite private because people could still send a link to that. So there's not really a way to do it on YouTube where you it's going to require a login
Right.
to watch the video. So I think we're going to see a lot of action in that space in the next couple months because it's such a popular use case. You mentioned the multi-camera streaming. Just to touch on that briefly, with one of the really cool things about Ecamm Live that you are not going to get with any sort of a browser-based app is Ecamm Live actually just runs any camera you connect automatically and gives you a camera switcher just magically. It's so cool. Like if I were to plug in 4 cameras, you have a camera switcher. Like it's just running all the cameras. You can switch between them live, and it doesn't just stop at typical USB cameras. Right now, this video is coming from a Canon DSLR camera. Ecamm Live has a little bit of magic that it can do, where if you plug in a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony DSLR camera, just using the USB cable, it actually says, oh, I know how to pull video from that, and it will come right into Ecamm Live automatically. So that's a really popular solution right now, in one part because you can't get an HDMI encoder at the store anymore. In general, if you want to use a camcorder or any sort of professional camera that's not a webcam to connect up to your computer, whether it's a Mac or a PC, you have to go out and buy an encoder. Like they kind of just look like this. They're just like little boxes. One side has HDMI and one side has USB, and they take that video signal and they basically make your fancy camera look like a webcam. Now, they all sold out immediately in mid-March, and they're really hard to find. So Ecamm Live has this great solution where you don't need an encoder. You can just connect your DSLR or mirrorless camera directly over USB, and it just pops right in as a camera.
Wow.
So it really is a joy to use.
It really sounds like you guys are kind of taking the whole ease of use with the Apple products to heart, and that was the one thing that impressed me with Macs from the beginning was, everything is pretty intuitive. You things are where you expect them to be, and it's mostly plug and play. The one thing, my MacBook Air is, I don't have a CD-ROM, but who needs those anymore? You download most everything. And then you've got the peripherals you can always add. One thing I wanted to know is now I don't work on the producing part of our show, and so this may be just a dumb question, but we do, our shows here for YouTube and Facebook and everything, but then we download them and extract the audio for our podcast. Does Ecamm make that easy to extract the audio portions to be uploaded elsewhere?
It's actually really nice because Ecamm Live automatically saves a recording of any live streams that you do directly to your Mac disk. So you can also, of course, just switch to record only mode and just make a recording. But when you're doing your live broadcast, Ecamm Live is always saving a file directly to your disk. So when you're done with your broadcast, there is no downloading really to do. It's just already sitting there as a file on your Mac. Open that in QuickTime Player, and QuickTime Player, a lot of people haven't noticed this sort of hidden feature in QuickTime Player, but there's a export as audio menu item right in there that will just save it as an audio file. So it's quite an easy process.
Very nice.
And that recording that gets saved is going to be the full quality that it encoded during your show. So you don't have to go, if you wanted to repurpose that content, you're not running over to Facebook and kind of downloading some sort of a lower quality file. You have that file sitting right there on your Mac ready to go.
That's beautiful, because I know Meredith, when we get done with the show, she has to download it, then she does her magic, then she has to upload it. And she's using an old Windows PC, and it takes a while. And so I could just imagine having it automatically to the disk would just be a time saver. And then doing the quick little button there on QuickTime to extract the audio is beautiful. Alan wanted to know what kind of users are turning to Ecamm.
As of late, it's been, like I said at the beginning of the show, It's a whole bunch of people that used to have live interaction with their audience and just suddenly have to be at their house. Previous to that, we saw a lot of users turning to live streaming with Ecamm Live to expand their marketing efforts. As sort of like a thing in addition to what they were doing. Like for example, a realtor maybe who wants to have a live show showing off their properties, and where they can do a combination. You could use Ecamm Live to do like a combination of live streaming and rolling pre-recorded videos, showing images, bringing on guests, sort of like a whole show that people could watch on Facebook or YouTube. Now we're seeing a lot of users who are just moving their whole business online, which has just been absolutely fascinating.
Right.
There's users we're seeing, like I said, a lot of churches, musicians, DJs, yoga instructors, artists doing their painting,
Right.
people doing their crafts, and then another big thing is like I said, paid speakers, which are going out through services like Zoom to take what used to be a live tour of speaking engagements and moving that into these private settings that people can tune in and watch and interact.
Yeah, we, like you said, we talked about a little bit about this at the beginning of the show, and it has been really amazing to watch how people are transitioning. And unfortunately, there are a lot of businesses that just can't transition. But do you foresee the continued increasing use of these type of platforms, even as hopefully COVID starts going away, or do you think that this is going to become more part of the new norm?
It's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, I think a lot of these businesses are really not going to go right back to normal. There's going to be, at the very least, a transition phase where they are continuing to be online. And I have had some conversations with some of these church leaders that are saying, well, some of them are saying they're going to continue doing live broadcasts, or maybe they already were doing live broadcasts. And some of these churches are saying, well, to be honest, when everyone is back here in the building, we may not do a live stream, or we may do a much simpler live stream. So I think it's going to be a little of both. I think, like, I'm trying to imagine like my kids' karate is going to go back to the dojo. They're not
Right.
going to be using Zoom anymore once that happens. But maybe a painter who is doing this weekly painting show is going to say, hey, I've got 10,000 people watching me now. I'm not going to stop doing this. So
Right.
I think we've always wanted in our business for live streaming to be a mainstream thing. And I feel like before this, it was just not. I think even Facebook was pushing it on and off over the years. YouTube built out a nice live streaming infrastructure, but it was really never a mainstream thing. It
Right.
was a novelty. You might watch something live on YouTube every once in a while. And what this pandemic did was push live streaming into the mainstream, where you have big names going live, where you have people using live streaming and video conferencing in daily life. So that impact alone, I think, is what's going to make the biggest difference. Is people is kind of just entering the lexicon of normal human beings, and not just computer nerds and people watching things like a rocket launch live. Now it's let's watch a normal thing live.
Right. Right. And we've actually even started seeing some shows or movies being completely filmed during the the quarantine. Meredith has an interview this coming Sunday with a group that they completely filmed the whole thing under quarantine conditions. And we,
Wow.
like I said, right at the beginning of the lockdown, we decided to do a virtual con. And of course, there's been a ton of those going on now. We believe and are very hopeful that the brick and mortar cons are going to come back. But we're already making the plans to coexist. We're not trying to replace them. You know, we want them back. We love those things, but we also love being able to help the independent filmmakers, writers, and directors, and all of that have a platform that they're not having to travel across the country for, and but they can still reach an audience. And we saw a really nice reception of that. I mean, we had cosplayers, we had actors from Amazon Prime shows and Netflix shows, and we're doing another one in July, Independence. It's Indie, INDIE, Pendants Con. And those kind of things, I think, will continue. And I think they're going to be more accepted. Like you said, it's not just the geek thing, even though this is GeekInsider. But I do believe that even, like I said, hopefully this goes away and goes away quick. But I do think we're going to see the continued use of this and continued increasing use. Alan wanted to back up and asked, he said, can you talk more about the saved scenes, how that works, and what that means for the creator?
We'll be back right after this quick break. For Geek Insider advertising opportunities, contact advertising@geekinsider.com. We offer space on the website, in the daily newsletter, sponsored posts, and advertising space on our podcast. For details, contact advertising@geekinsider.com.
Alan wanted to back up and asked, he said, can you talk more about the saved scenes, how that works, and what that means for the creator?
Oh, talk about the product? I'd be happy to. That's what I could do all day. Save scene is a powerful feature, and it's interesting the way we design the app. You can use Ecamm Live with or without scenes, and you can just not even know what scenes are, and still use the app to do things like switch cameras, bring in titles, sound effects, pre-recorded videos, all that. But if you are in the habit of setting things up in advance, scenes allow you to run through your show without having to do any of the configuration and settings during the show, and set up each step of your broadcast completely in advance. So you're essentially just running through a series of saved scenes. So for example, maybe your broadcast starts with an intro video. That would be your first scene. When that video ends, it's going to automatically transition to the next scene, which is probably you on camera. You can do your introduction. Maybe there's a title at the bottom of the screen that's all set up, ready to go, and your logo's in the corner. The next scene might be a split screen with you and your guest. Or maybe you have another scene set up with a third guest, and then you're going to be switching between those on the fly. You might have some videos you want to roll during your show. Those would be other scenes you could set up in advance, and those might all have different titling. So as when you roll your pre-recorded video, you're not going to want the same titles on the screen. Maybe you want the logo to disappear. So you really have a lot of power in setting up exactly the way you want your broadcast to look. And what that does is give it this professional appearance of not just a static shot of two people chatting on a Zoom call. Suddenly it becomes a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing with the product that I'm using now is I have to go to several different sections in order to run my scroll across the bottom of the screen or to bring up a video. And then I usually end up forgetting to check comments when we're on a live show because I just forget to look over there. I've got too many things going on. I love the idea of scenes, especially because like this, we scheduled this interview up and we had talked about the inserting stuff afterwards. That's the kind of stuff that we could do during the show itself. I mean, there's a way to do it right now, but it just sounds like it's a lot more seamless with Ecamm. Meredith said there's an app there was an app called Busker. She doesn't know if it's still active, but it was neat to live stream and accept tips from the viewers and other buskers. People were, are getting savvy and money making opportunities, but apps like Blab and Busker had a landing page, much like YouTube, so people could consume the content later. But unfortunately, the developers didn't really think about the cost of servers, and they stuck
Right,
with
right.
it. And so she says that she's hearing there's a way to save the audio video. Will there also be an easy way to upload that to iTunes and other podcasts?
Yeah, I mean, once you have the file on your Mac, it's pretty straightforward to upload. I mean, it's basically ready to go. A lot of our members will go ahead and do editing before they upload for a podcast, but in most cases, it's really ready to. Since you were able to do so much production during the actual broadcast or recording, usually it's pretty much ready to go and be uploaded to as a podcast. We do have an automatic feature where you can send the recording up to YouTube as a broadcast. We don't have any integration with any of the podcast services to do that automatically, but usually it's just really a matter of dragging it in
Gotcha.
on a Mac.
I think what she was asking is, was there an aggregate, where you can just drop it in and it aggregates out to all the platforms that you use? She's wanting it easy peasy. I know. And like I said earlier, I am a Mac user. Neither Alan nor Meredith are on Macs at this point. I am very intrigued. I do several shows. I do a Wednesday night live show that's called Geeky, Cheeky, and Downright Freaky. And then we do the Geek Speak, and I'm going to be starting a daily show here pretty soon. And this sounds just exactly like something that I would enjoy using. And so I think you sold me on this one, Glenn. And so hopefully
Check it out.
We've got some other Mac users out there that want to check this out as well. And of course, guys, you can go to just Ecamm, that's ECAMM.com. You can try it for free, but like they say, they make your Mac life better. And Alan even said, so saved scenes make you become as professional as The Daily Show or other shows like that. And I agree. That's one of those things, Trevor throws those little quickies up on Twitter, and he's doing it from home, but it seems like he's got a whole team with him because he has those little cut scenes, and then he's making comments on it, and so it does sound like a really sweet product. Let's see here. Alan said, what's going to be interesting is how users start to ask for more ways to market their content and grow their audience through a platform like Ecamm. As more people like painters, teachers, etc., transition to an Ecamm, they want to simplify the process and have a comprehensive solution to live stream, etc. And it seems like a whole lot of opportunity here. And I agree.
Yeah, I mean, what we found is people, there's always going to be a subset of live streamers that have these complicated setups and are using 7 different apps at the same time and chaining everything together. But what most users want is just a simple all-in-one solution that's just going to work automatically and magically and do what you want it to do. So our goal with Ecamm Live is to just be that all-in-one solution and alleviate the need for any sort of other add-on applications or peripherals or services. We don't have a plan to host our own streams right now. I mean, I think that the social platforms are really going to be taking action and not missing this opportunity to allow people to reach their audiences through those platforms. I mean, it's a huge opportunity for them. We're already seeing Facebook introducing a stars program where you can support your audience. YouTube has the super chats. I don't know if you've seen that, where you can actually, when you're watching a YouTube video, you can. It's essentially a tip jar concept built in, where if an artist is performing on YouTube Live, you can send them money just through the comments window. And Facebook is introducing the same thing. They call it Facebook Stars, where you can just kind of like throw some coins in the virtual tip jar as you're watching. So there's a lot of ways for these artists to make a little money in their live stream, and not a little money all the time. And we've seen people make several $1,000s just on playing jazz music or something, where they have these. You need a big audience, of course, but
Right.
when people know they're getting value for when they're watching, they don't hesitate to chip in and support the artist.
No, you're exactly right. We've seen that a lot with some of the smallest little shows, that they have a good little following, and those people like to tip or to help out because they're entertained and they appreciate that. And like I said earlier, I really think that this is going to be a part of the new norm, because most everyone agrees we're never going back to what was normal, where there's going to be a new normal or several new normals depending on where you live. And I truly believe that these kind of platforms are going to be critical, not only to help the entertainers reach their audiences and stuff, but it also to just help keep people connected and getting more voices out there, because otherwise, there's a lot of talent, a lot of good brains out there that you just don't get to see. And it enables me to meet folks like you. I've met people from all over the world, and we couldn't do this 20 years ago unless we just picked up the phone and we all paid excessive amounts of money for cross-border calls. But Glenn, we really appreciate you joining us today. Just one second. Looks like somebody had a question. One of the things that many podcasters are seeing with StreamYard specifically is that Facebook is now throttling back our videos. Facebook has always has a hand in our pocket. It's very frustrating. Do you foresee that continuing, that they're going to keep throttling and kind of chokeholding?
I would not imagine that they would be throttling very much longer. I mean, these services definitely got crushed by this unexpanded expansion in usage, like you said, Easter weekend, that kind of thing. But I would imagine that they're going to be working to build out their infrastructure and working on increasing quality as time goes on. I mean, we heard a lot. We haven't really heard specifically as much about Facebook throttling or Facebook reducing quality. That may be something specific to StreamYard. I'm not sure, but we have seen, for example, people will say, why does my Zoom call look so awful? Because everyone in the world is using Zoom, or why did my YouTube my Sunday service get dropped by YouTube? It's because every single person in the country is doing a Sunday church service. That kind of thing definitely is something we can expect to continue to see happening. But as time goes on, I think we'll see the quality of these live streams increase and continue to increase as it becomes more of a commodity type thing. Facebook has always been kind of the bottom of the at the bottom of quality level, especially with their replays. Never quite look so great.
Right.
If you're going for quality, YouTube is the way to go. I mean, you can stream out in 4K without a hiccup with Ecamm Live, or 1080 60, and the replay is just exactly what you sent them. It's perfect, crystal clear video replays.
Very nice. Alan said he's got a technical question. He says, how does Ecamm account for massive concurrent use?
One cool thing about Ecamm Live is it's sending directly from your Mac to these platforms like Facebook or YouTube. So the video is not going through our servers. So we don't actually have we're not moving the data around. So when all this increase in usage happened, it affected us in a lot of ways, but not so much issues with concurrent use. It's really not something that Ecamm Live has to deal with. So it's kind of cool in that sense. We're an online service, like someone who's actually hosting the video or running or doing the encoding on the cloud somewhere was sent scrambling to buy more servers or keeping their services from just falling over. Ecamm Live didn't run into that problem because
nice.
the encoding is happening in the comfort of your own home and just getting sent up to the social platform.
Very cool. Very cool. And he said that makes sense, and more reason to use the Apple infrastructure and stick with Apple users. But Glenn, we definitely appreciate you joining us today and telling us all about Ecamm Live, because I know you guys have been around for quite some time. It's not like you're new to the neighborhood or anything, but I had never had an opportunity to utilize the product or learn about the product, I should say. And like I said earlier, you sold me. I know you're not in sales, but with what the technical stuff and you giving us the insight, it's something I'm going to have to check out.
It is free to try it. It's just a full 2-week, completely free, no credit card required. Just log in and get going.
Well, I'm going to give it a shot for next week's show. That's for sure. I'm setting up a whole new office area, so my computer's not in my lap anymore, and I've got new mics and cameras and all that crap. But so it'll be nice to just try a whole new setup next week, and then drive Meredith crazy with doing something different, and she doesn't have stuff where she's used to it. But folks, like I said, you can check out ecamm.com. That's ECAMM.com. And like you said, you can get a free trial of it. If you are interested in getting your own kind of thing going on YouTube or Facebook or Zoom or anything that sounds like it's the product for you. Glenn, any last words that people can follow you or find you, or anything you want to tell anybody?
Check out ecamm.com. Check out our Facebook community. We have a really amazing Facebook community. People using the product, asking questions, exchanging creative ideas. It's a really, really nice place to check out. And like I said, if you haven't tried out the app, it's really cool. Check it out. And thanks for having me. This has been really fun.
But thanks again, Glenn. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on Light Years Away.
Thank you for tuning in to Light Years Away, a GeekInsider production. It's a show about tech projects and the people who are making things happen. Become part of our show with sponsorship and advertising opportunities. For details, contact advertising at geekinsider.com or visit podcast.geekinsider.com. The Geek Insider podcast is available on your favorite app, so please hit the follow button and share it out to your friends, because if you don't, you might have to turn in your geek card.